Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and talk about making links. I need to go ahead and add my title and other things because I am starting from scratch this time. So go ahead and close out the head, open up the body section, and give ourselves a little bit of room to work with. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to talk about making links. And links are actually very powerful things that allow us to bring a lot of information in one place. And there are a couple of different ways to make some links. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with the first type of link, which is called an absolute link. This is when you're going to be linking from your page to an outside resource. So if you want to make a link to Google or to Yahoo or to something like that, then you can. And the tag that you're going to use to do that is going to be the A tag. And you're going to go ahead and feed it an attribute, an HTML attribute named the href. And what the href attribute is going to do is it's going to tell the browser where to go when somebody actually clicks on the link. Now when we're making an absolute link, we have to give it the exact address of the web page we're going to. If we make any typos or we choose the wrong one, then our link is not going to work. We also have to start our link address with http://. This is something that we can skip nowadays in the browser. The browser knows, when you go to the URL and say I want to go to yahoo.com or something like that, the browser fills this in for us. But here when we're forcing a link, we actually have to tell it to start with the http://. And then you go ahead and put in the rest of the address. So in this case, we'll make a link to Tarleton, so www.tarleton.edu. Go ahead and close that attribute with the double quotes, and then go ahead and close your A tag. Now at this point, what the browser sees is it sees this A tag, and it says to itself, okay, now from here on out, everything else is going to be a link, which means it's going to be underlined in a different color, and when people click on it, it's going to go to this address that you've fed it through the href attribute. So anything after this, but before the A tag closes, will take on the look of a link. So we're just going to put in some text, link to Tarleton, and this is the text that the people are actually going to click on. So let's go ahead and save that. I'm going to go ahead and save this and switch over to the browser, and I'm going to open that up, and you will see the link. Notice we are still looking at the file locally, so this isn't on the web, but even though it's not on the web, we can go ahead and tell it to check the links by clicking on it. And sure enough, it goes to Tarleton. So that's an absolute link. Just to give you an example of one more, you open up the A tag, href equals http://www.google.com. Tell it that we want to search Google, and close that A tag. One thing you want to do before you do post your page is you do want to check this in the browser, because you want to make sure that you didn't make a typo. So instead of writing tarleton.edu, you actually wrote tarleton.edu. But you also want to make sure that it's going to the place that you intended it to. If you Dallas Cowboys, there are a lot of one official site and then a lot of fan sites, and so you might want to make sure that it's pointing to the right one that you want it to go to. So those are our two links. That is an absolute link, meaning that we are going to give it the whole address of where it needs to go when it makes a link. Now the second type of link I'm going to talk about is called a relative link, and a relative link means that it is relative to the document that you're talking about right now. So in this case, when we save index up to our website, it's in a folder on the web server named st_ whatever our username happens to be. And it references all of those files around that through relative addressing. So if all of these files live in the same folder, then what we can do is we can actually just call the file name that we want to use. So if we had made another page, and let's say that it was named aboutme.html, we had saved and uploaded it to our website into our website folder, we can make a link to that by just giving the file name. We can say href equals, and instead of http colon blah 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 blah, all we have to do is give the name of the file that we've created. Now when you create files beyond your index.html file, you can make the names of all your other files whatever you want to. Highly recommend that you avoid putting spaces in them. So about me, in this case, I've made into one word. Some servers will cause problems, and in some cases they'll fill in some gobbledygook to replace that space. So to make it nicer and neater, go ahead and avoid putting spaces in those file names. So this would be a link to info about me, and go ahead and close that link. Now this isn't going to work when we preview this because there's not a file in our folder right now named About Me. So when I reload it, we're going to see the link to info about me, and when I click on it, it's going to look in the same folder that our index file currently resides in for a file named About Me. But of course in this case it doesn't exist, and so we're going to get a file not found error. Just to show you what I mean real quick, I'm going to head back over to our index, and I'm going to change a couple of things real quick just to show you how this works. We're going to change this to our About Me page. I'm going to put a little bit of text. I'm going to save this as About Me.html, since that's what I linked to a while ago. So see, now here in this folder, there's our index file, and now right in that same folder, I'm going to save About Me.html. So now that file exists. When I go back to my page and click on it this time, it actually hooks up and finds that file. Notice up here in the address that it's now viewing About Me.html. If I click the back button, we go back to our index. So that right there is what's called a relative link. The reason is the address is relative to the location that you're currently looking at. What I do tell people is that an absolute link will always work. So if you start http://www.tarleton.edu/students/whatever, that's always going to work. But you might want to save your time and save yourself some typing by using these relative links. And the last type of link I'm going to show you in this demo is kind of an oddball one. What it does is it allows you to put in an email link. And the way this works, and this is a little browser dependent, but when you click on the link, it will open up the person's mail program, depending on what program they're using, and it'll take your email address and fill it in the to field of their email application so they can easily send you some email. So let me show you how that works. We're going to again use our A tag because that's what we're going to use for all types of links. And we're going to go ahead and start with the href attribute again. But this time, instead of putting a web page, what we're going to do is we're going to give it the mail to command. And this is the command that tells the browser to look around and try to open up that mail application if possible. And then you're going to fill in the email address that is going to receive the email that the person sends. And then you're going to go ahead and give them a link to click on. In this case, I generally retype my email address in case somebody needs to jot it down or they need to copy and paste it into a different email program that's maybe not working correctly. So I'll type something like send email to lschult@tarleton.edu. That's what's going to be underlined and clickable, and then close my tag. So when I save that and go back to my browser and reload it, we get our last link, the send email to lschult. When I click on that, you can see that my email program opens up. My email address is filled in there automatically, and because this is using my Outlook account, it also includes my signature and everything like that. That is not a result of anything we did in the HTML. That is in my email program. So that concludes the section on links. In the next demo, we're going to talk about inserting images and making sure they're accessible.